I was sitting by the ocean one late summer afternoon, watching the waves rolling in and feeling the rhythm of my breathing, when I became aware of the whole environment being engaged in one gigantic cosmic dance.
Modern science, in collaboration with computer technology, is creating a new map of what mystics have understood throughout human history, that all being is interconnected in an unbroken web of relationship.
What is fractal? Fractal represents the boundary between black and white, good and bad, or hot and cold. The basic idea of Euclidean geometry is the sharp boundary. Fractal geometry is the first step past Euclidean geometry because we know now that there are no sharp edges, only fractal ones. It's the quality of the boundary that is fractal. This is the language of nature. Fractals have been edited out from our language by reductionists throughout history, so our language does not overlap with the language of nature. The habit of thinking of ourselves as being disjoint from the universal field of intelligence is an unescapable consequence of Euclidean thought. This worldview expanded originally with the conquests of Alexander the Great. He stopped, fortunately, short of Himalayas. That protected certain cultures from the negative impact of Euclidean ideal, so the interconnectedness of all things was maintained in India and Far East cultural complex of societies.
The understanding of interdependence is well preserved in the Buddhist tradition. Prince Siddhartha, better known as the Buddha, the awakened one, was born 2,500 years ago in northern India. His teaching continues to have a profound influence in the modern world. The first noble truth in Buddhist philosophy is that suffering is a basic condition of life. The elimination of suffering emerges from the understanding that we are not separate entities, but each of us is a part of the invisible net of consciousness that permeates all of life. Buddha taught that each human being has the potential to attain enlightenment, the awareness that we are not separate from the web of life. In Tibetan Buddhism, monks and nuns devote their lives to training the mind in order to realize the awakened state, an awareness of the interconnected nature of all being. Sogyo Rinpoche,
the very nature of mind, its innermost essence, is never touched by change or death. It is in fact the nature of everything. It can never be said too often that to realize the nature of mind is to realize the nature of all things.
The Tibetan theory and practice of the mandala provides us with the way of understanding the mind. According to Swiss psychologist Carl Gustav Jung, the symbol of the mandala is one of the most ancient symbols in the history of human consciousness and can be traced back to Paleolithic times. Long before the arrival of Buddhism, meditation on the meaning of the mandala was a common practice. The drawing of the mandala with colored sand and crushed precious stones was a sacred meditation technique of the legendary Bon religion, an ancient Tibetan shamanic tradition. With the arrival of Buddhism in Tibet in the 7th century, the mandala was absorbed and further developed as one of the highest practices of Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. The word Tantra is related to the concept of thread, web, or fabric, which is the symbol for the mutual dependence of all life. Tantric practice enables us to understand and experience this interconnection. The heart of all indigenous traditions embraces this insight of the essential unity of all beings.
All things are bound together. All things connect. Man has not woven the web of life. He is but one thread. Whatever he does to the thread, he does to himself.
For Tibetans, the mandala represents the integral relationship between mind and universe. It is the symbol of the evolution of consciousness, a map of the potential human beings have to become aware of their position in the web of life.
Yes, sir. Not clear. So actually, we have to treat humanity as one human family. That's the reality now.
Undertaking the journey of the mandala is not easy. We have to make a deliberate and sincere decision to turn away from the demands of our daily lives and travel inward. To do this, we must accept the fact that we are not yet fully mature or realized. We must feel the necessity for change. It is often our suffering that inspires us to take this journey.
Violent method is actually, I think, against human nature. feeling of philosophical, but spiritual. I don't know, or spiritually, the human nature is more gentleness. Therefore, the non-violent method is much more closer. The violence is something like powerful medicine, some antibiotic or something, very powerful. It destroys. Towards death, at that moment, I think it's the people become different. Okay? I mean, due to different attitude, different concept about death. When there's a different people, when they passing through actual death comes, there will be differences.
The fields of the dead are the outermost circle of the mandala, the beginning of the journey. In Tibetan Buddhism, meditation on death and the transitory nature of existence is a basic tool for training the mind.
The fear of death is our innermost friend, for it drives us to ask, if everything dies and changes, then what is really true?
The second circle on the way to the center is the circle of fire. Fire burns away the common delusions of the mind, ambition, hatred, and the endless hunger for material wealth. Fire does not destroy, but transforms the mind toward a new state of being which values wisdom, love, and compassion. The third circle on our way to the center of the mandala is the diamond circle. For Tibetans, the diamond is the king of stones, symbolizing crystal clearness of the mind. The mind, purified by fire, has become as unbreakable as the diamond. In the clear and unchangeable nature of the diamond, Tibetan Buddhists see reflected the absolute reality of the void, permeating all manifest reality. The fourth circle on the way to the center of the mandala is the lotus circle. The lotus flower, growing free of roots embedded in earth, is a symbol of mind released from delusion. While floating on the lotus blossom, we stand before the walls of a palace where the ultimate treasure abides. The center of the palace is the center of the mandala, pure consciousness itself. Immersed in consciousness, we experience complete unity with all being. Tibetan Buddhists consider this experience of unity to be the ultimate achievement of a human life.
Influence, I believe, should come from scientists. Those who are specialists in these fields, when we listen to their explanation, then things really become very clear and very serious.
Through the internet and the World Wide Web, modern computer technology is offering its users a glimpse of the interconnected web of being.
Your free space on the network is the place where you communicate outward. Your free space on the network is the place where you, in today's world, publish a couple web pages, where you put up some text and some images on your own server, or your own, your little bit of hard drive strapped into the network out there. That's your free space, and you're the master or the mayor of that tiny city space that you create.
As people begin to perceive this interconnectedness of being through meditation practices and scientific discovery, they begin to understand that nature is not separate from humanity, but an integral part of who we are. Venerable Pra Prachok lives in one of the last rainforests in Thailand, Dong Yai Forest. Thai Buddhist monks and nuns come from distant monasteries and provinces to walk with Pra Prachok through the jungle and meditate on the teachings of nature.
The forest enables life to flow towards death and death towards life. It's the natural cycle of numerous creatures dependent on each other.
But multinational paper companies and the Thai government see things in a different way.
So this monk was a big obstacle because the people were backing him, protecting the forest. So the forest, through department, in collaboration with the generals, charged him for trespassing the royal forestry land. In fact, he was arrested 2 years ago. At the same time, I was arrested for different charges. But meanwhile, of course, he was active, protecting the forest, and of course, he was a great nuisance to the generals who want to destroy the forest. So they use all kind of means to trick him and so on, and then they want to bring more charges against him. And in July, unfortunately, he fell weak and he gave in. That is, they gave him the understanding that if he is no longer a monk, if he is no longer protecting the forest, they will not bring in the new charges. And so, you know, he was fighting so much that I think perhaps he lost that spiritual strength and so on. So he gave in, he disrobed himself on the 18th of July, just 4 days before the Buddhist Lent begins.
By lowering the price of rice, the government is deliberately provoking people in the vast rural areas to earn money by cutting down the rainforests for the paper companies. It's no paradise for the animals, as they have nowhere to hide, so they migrate elsewhere, destabilizing and overpopulating ecosystems of remaining rainforests. However, this process will continue.
We hope there will be a miracle. Well, I'm saying that the World Wide Web is a miracle. A miracle has become manifest, which has the capability to very substantially increase our chances of survival and the biosphere's chance of survival if we participate in the creation of this future.
Perhaps the root of ignorance lies in the dream to control life. If life is understood, there is no need to try to control it. But it is easier to control than to understand.